When you apply to colleges, they also ask you to pick a major. Oftentimes, students don't really know what the different majors entail, only the really vague things they might have heard in passing before. Like about their cousin who switched their major to business when they found out that engineering was too hard, for example. Sometimes schools will admit students by major, so students will be accepted as whatever major they're applying for. But some other schools don't admit by major and have their freshmen come in undeclared, like my school. This gives students the opportunity to explore their different academic interests before finally settling into a major. In addition to the big Common App essay, some schools also have an additional supplemental essay prompt where they ask you why you're interested in the major or maybe even the majors that you're applying for. I don't think this is because they want to lock you into a specific major for all 4 years of college, but instead I think they're interested in seeing whether you're coming into college with at least some sort of clear plan in mind or if you're just walking in completely blindly. And it's okay if that plan changes over the course of the next 4 years because most people end up switching their majors at least once anyways. So when you're considering what major you might want to apply as, if you're not super sure, or even if you're a little bit sure, think about what majors would best match your student profile. So things like what classes have you taken, and more specifically what classes you've done well in, as well as what sort of extracurricular activities that you're a part of. And as you're working on writing your own why major essays, hopefully you can learn from my own essays, which I'm going to read right now. For applicants to Columbia College, please tell us what from your current and past experiences, either academic or personal, attracts you specifically to the field or fields of study that you noted in the member questions section. If you are currently undecided, please write about any field or fields in which you may have an interest at this time. 300 words. As a budding K-pop enthusiast, I was overjoyed to hear that I'd won a scholarship to study in Jeonju, South Korea through Nisley Y. I packed my bags, eager to spend my summer in an entirely new country. Kimchi and high-speed internet awaited. Kaja! However, it wasn't just the carefree government-sponsored vacation I'd expected. From day one, classes were intense, taught entirely in Korean. Given that nobody in my class had any prior experience in the language, we faced a steep learning curve. 2 weeks later, we could finally hold a basic conversation. Fortunately, my host family spoke English and was willing to help me study late into the night. It was slow, but we were making progress. While I endeavored to improve my language skills, I also learned more about Korean society. I learned about their views on reunification, about how students face such immense pressure regarding the Sunung, about why I saw so many no Japan signs everywhere. I discovered so much about the place that had become my second home, doing my best to keep up with my slowly improving Korean. Even after coming home, I've continued my language studies. In between messaging my host family and other new friends, I've learned more about the country's role in global affairs, from its rising entertainment industry to its flourishing tech sector. Especially as we consider the growing influence of its northern neighbor, South Korea is certainly becoming an increasingly important player in the international community. In the future, I hope to work in the Foreign Service because I'm deeply interested in learning about foreign nations and their interactions with each other. With one of the strongest East Asian studies programs in the world, Columbia can help make this a reality. Hopefully one day, I can visit Jeonju once more. Brown's open curriculum allows students to explore broadly while also diving deeply into their academic pursuits. Tell us about an academic interest or interests that excites you, and how you might use the open curriculum to pursue it. 250 words. In 5th grade, I watched a video about Tim Donor, a teenager who spoke over 20 languages. Since then, I've wanted to be a polyglot just like him, conversing with people around the globe. Unfortunately, my school only offered Spanish, but I've self-studied French and Japanese with some success. Through Brown's open curriculum, I gained access to courses in 25 languages, ancient and modern alike. I can continue my studies in Korean or pick up Czech. I could even take classes in Akkadian, which few other schools offer. Maybe then I can get a leg up on Tim. As I learn to speak these languages, I'll also study the science behind them through linguistics. Beyond just syntax and semantics, I'll uncover how we learn languages. How do children and adults acquire languages differently? How does multilingual education affect brain development? How have languages evolved over time? I'm curious to understand how we communicate, because in capturing how we experience the world, language defines who we are. During my time in Korea, I learned that language is a vehicle for storytelling. Through the Korean language, I learned about the country's history, education system, economy, and politics. Most importantly, I was able to form lifelong relationships with people in their mother tongue. As I pursue a career in a global community, I must be able to understand the hearts and minds of people from cultures foreign to my own. My first step is as simple as learning how to say hello. In writing these essays, there were a number of things that I absolutely wanted to avoid. I didn't want to give a vague explanation as to why I was interested in this major, like talking about how I knew I was interested in this major ever since I was a young child or ever since I could remember, because those kinds of answers are really cringe. I also didn't want to give any superficial reasoning, like talking about how I wanted to make a lot of money with this major, or how my parents wanted me to do this major, or really anything that talked more about extrinsic motivations rather than intrinsic motivations. And then in terms of things that I did want to focus on in these essays, I wanted to highlight my own intrinsic motivations for why I was interested in these majors. In order to do that, I wanted to tell a story about how I first developed my interest in this field. I also talked about how I was currently engaging with the field and what I was doing even before going to college. And then I also wanted to touch on what specifically about that school would help me to further my interests. So what specific things that school has about its major that appealed to me. So maybe things like specific classes I was interested in, or professors that I wanted to meet, or specific research or extracurricular opportunities that I was interested in. And in terms of overall advice, I would recommend doing some reflection to see what from your past experiences could match with your potential major. And if you're someone who has a lot of different interests that may even come from completely different academic disciplines, then you might want to consider actually applying as undecided or undeclared. And in your essay, you want to do your best to show a clear path in your academic journey, showing your past as well as where you hope to go in the future. This has been my advice for how to approach the why major essay, so for all of you who are currently applying to colleges, I wish you the best of luck. If you're interested in specific advice on how to improve your Common App essay, check out this video here, or feel free to check out any of the other videos I have on my channel related to how to approach the different kinds of supplemental essays.